Namaskar and good evening, everyone. My name is Vimal Kumar. I am from Shiksha Sopan. On behalf of the National Anveshika Network of India, NANI, a unit of Indian Association of Physics Teachers, IAPT, I extend a warm welcome to all of you for today's webinar titled Nature-Inspired Multifunctional Surfaces. We are honored to have with us today Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma, Professor in Department of Chemical Engineering and Dean of Sponsored Research and Consultancy at IIT Hyderabad. Dr. Sharma's research focuses on next-generation energy storage devices, electrospun, nanofibers for various applications, nature-inspired functional surfaces, and waste management. His team, the Carbon Lab at IIT Hyderabad, is at the forefront of these exciting fields. Dr. Sharma is highly accomplished researcher with over 150 publications and 18 patents pre-granted to his name. He has also successfully guided 17 PhD students with 9 more currently under his supervision. Beyond his research, Dr. Sharma is actively involved in science promotions. He has received prestigious awards including the DST Swarna Jayanti Fellowship and was recognized as one of the 75th young scientists shaping today's India. He also served as a chairperson of the Indian National Young Academy of Sciences, NAEST, from 2020 to 2022, where he campaigned initiative for capacity building and gender inclusivity in STEAM fields. Dr. Sharma currently serves on various committees, including SERB and DST panels. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Vimal. I think it's my pleasure to be here and interact with all these young people. Can you just tell me their little background in terms of whether they are teachers or there are graduate students? Vimal, can you help me with that?
So NAST basically open for the class 9 to 12th BSc and MSc. So in our webinar, we have students from class 9 to 12th and as well as BSc and MSc and some of the teachers as well.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, that will help me in focusing my talk accordingly. So let me just share the screen to start my presentation today. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So as Vimal mentioned, today I will be talking about nature-inspired multifunctional surfaces. So we will go through what nature has evolved over the years, what we can learn from the nature, how we can get inspiration from the nature in this today's talk. So let me just tell you that nature is in three different roles before us. Nature as model, nature as measure, and also at the same time, nature has been with us as a mentor. When we say nature as model, means we look for the nature in terms of inspiration, in terms of certain mechanisms, in terms of solving some of the processes, solving some of the problems of humankind by learning from the designs, by learning from the processes which are available in the nature. So we consider nature as a model for providing solutions to our problems. When we talk about the nature as a measure, when we fabricate something, when we innovate something, when we invent something, how right we are, we take nature as a consideration again, as a measure. And please note that this rightness or this correctness of what we do and compare it with the nature. Why? Because nature has evolved more than 3.8 billion years. And that is how nature has attained the perfection in each and everything what it does. So obviously, the kind of evolution nature has learned in 30.8 billion years, that is something for us to judge as a rightness of our innovation. Third, nature is a mentor. When we look for the nature, there is another way to understand the nature. When we look at what we can, not just what we can extract from the nature, but what we can learn from the nature and how we can value the nature around us. So in that way, we consider nature in the three major roles: model, as a measure, as a mentor. Now, looking into this further, there are many terms which have been evolved over the years. And some of these terms are vividly used as a synonyms to each other. However, they are not really exactly the same. For example, bio-inspiration, bionics, biomimicking, biomimicry, or diagnosis. These are broadly the similar terms. I would not say same terms, but similar terms broadly. But there are, of course, difference if we go more into technical things. But in general, all these things are basically learning from the nature. So the term bionics, it was conceived by Jack Steele in 1960, which means copying, imitating, and learning from the biology. And then Otto Schmidt in 1969 coined the term biomimicking or biomimetics, which means bios means life and mimetics means imitate. And that's how he was the first one in the biomedical engineering and founding vice president of the Biophysical Society. Later, biomimicry term was coined by Jenny Venius, and she has written a book on biomimicry. As you can see, biomimicry, innovation inspired by nature. And that is how this term biomimicry was introduced. So all these terms, in a way, broadly, if you see, this is basically how to take the inspiration from the nature, how to mimic the nature, how to fabricate the things which are already existing in the nature. These are all related to that. Now, when we see in the nature, there are different kinds of materials, lot of exotic materials, and this has been done continuously: creation, evolution, and the adaptation by the nature in a very beautiful way. And if you see this all different kinds of exotic materials, you can classify them in the advanced materials, functional materials, smart materials, intelligent materials, conscious materials. These are all there when we look towards the nature in our surroundings. For example, I will take some of the example. Let's say many of you, as Vimal mentioned, you are in the senior schools or the BSc or MSc graduates. Some of these common examples, let's briefly discuss. You all have seen the peacock feather. The first example here, peacock feather. You all have seen peacock feather, very beautiful, colorful peacock feather. Similarly, the butterfly. There are different kinds of colorful butterflies. Have you ever wondered that what is the origin of these colors? Is it the pigment? Is it like any artificial synthetic color or natural color? It's nothing. It's actually it is no color. But what we see, the color in these all beautiful nature materials, this is all it's called structural colors. These all beautiful colors in the peacock feather, butterfly wing, they are all because of a particular structure. This color is evolving, and this concept has been taken or inspired to develop the photonic crystals. Similarly, we have seen lotus. Many of you might have seen the lotus leaf. The beauty of the lotus leaf is that even if it is in mud water, dusty water, lotus is always in the mud, but the leaf of the lotus always remains very clean. The moment there is any dirt and dust present on the lotus leaf, water droplet takes it away. It rolls away with the dust and it makes it clean. That is the concept for the self-cleaning surfaces. So if we want to develop the self-cleaning textiles, for example, you are wearing some textiles, some fabric, and imagine it's a self-cleaning. You just dip into the water, take it out, all the dust is gone. That is how we can develop the material by taking the inspiration from the nature, like lotus leaf. Similarly, the low temperature ceramics. Similarly, the bioadhesion. Another beautiful example, lizard. We all know lizard, gecko, in our house. Now, this gecko, it can hang around itself just in the opposite direction. It can run, it can walk on the surface by adhering to the surface very nicely. And have you ever wondered that it does not leave any impression? While if you compare with the synthetic adhesives, let's say if you are putting some scotch, some sellotape on the wall, and if you take it out, it leaves the impression on the surface, right? But at the same time, these are the natural adhesives on the surface. And not only adhesives, you can run, they can walk without leaving any impression. So there are several such examples, butterfrog, Velcro. There are several such examples in the nature we will briefly discuss, which inspires us to develop some of these materials for our interest. So you can classify them as smart materials, intelligent materials, or whatever. So, continuing to some of these examples, bionic car. If you see the bionic car, which is having very high speed, the design of the bio car has been inspired from the box fish. It is basically to reduce the drag so that you can move with a faster speed, also maximizing the engine efficiency. The tent, leaf, honeycomb structure, which is mainly responsible for the lightweight materials. The Namib desert beetle, this particular insect, it can survive in the desert for multiple years, even without water. How does it do it? It's again because of the structural capability, structural functionality which nature has provided to this insect. So there are hundreds of such examples when we look the nature with a curiosity, with a curious mindset. When we look into our surroundings, we realize that there is much more to understand, much more to learn from the nature. So continuing some of these things, butterfly wings, they also inspire the displays. Then there are low friction ship, which are again inspired from the shark skin. In fact, if you have any interest in the swimming, there was an athlete, Ian Thor, who won even 5 gold medals in a single Olympic in swimming. His swimsuit was inspired from the shark skin, just to reduce the drag, force. Neuromorphic chip from the neural networks. Neural network is present in the human beings. Morphing aircraft wings, Velcro. Velcro is very, there are some plants which are having the Velcro design, and that is inspired the design of Velcros. So there are numerous such examples which has inspired the scientific community to develop the materials of interest. Now, that's what we see, that like this is a Velcro. You can see this kind of Velcro design, which has been there in the fences. Then nature, these wings, they have been inspiring the aviation industries and so many things. So nature, I would say it's a world best teacher, no doubt about it. And there is a famous quote from the Albert Einstein that look deep into the nature, you will understand everything better. And that is what the focus of this today's talk. So when we talk about the bio-inspiration or biomimicking, there is a little difference. So bio-inspiration means we look into the nature, we take the inspiration from the nature, that how these properties have been developed in the nature, right? We take the inspiration and try to use those inspiration, try to develop our materials or try to develop the processes by taking the inspiration directly from the nature. While at the same time, biomimicking means there is a little difference. Biomimicking means you take the nature material directly and try to replicate directly from that material. So one is just taking the inspiration and understanding the nature functioning and develop the material. Second is you take the natural material directly and mimic it into your material of interest. In both the ways, it is innovation from the nature. So what does it mean? Selection of a unique property, whether it is a structural color, whether it is the self-cleaning properties, whether it is the mechanical properties, where it is the optical properties, or so many other properties. Adhesive properties like gecko or lizard. So we take that property, try to understand what is the role of the structure in defining those properties. As I said, like for example, butterfly wings, peacock feather, there is no color. Its color is not because of any pigment. The color is because of the structure. So let's try to understand those structures. Let's try to create those structures in our material and see whether our material also can give the similar colors. That is what the bio inspiration. And third, design and synthesis of suitable target molecules, structure, or the system by either mimicking or inspiration. So briefly, I will mention some of these common examples like lotus leaf, structural color, mechanical properties, and all. And based on that, in fact, we have composed a book it's almost now 2 years. And this book is available on the Vigyan Prasar website. It's called Demystifying the Nature. Demystifying the nature means in this particular book, we have taken the 5 beautiful examples. It's a butterfly wings, it's a gecko lizard, it's a lotus leaf, it's a spider silk, which is a very good example for the mechanical properties, and also the insect moth eyes, which is anti-reflective in nature. I hope this works. Yeah, this is a small video about the book.
Video visible to everyone.
Are you able to listen the video and watch the video?
No, sir. I
No?
cannot see the
Okay.
video.
No, sir, we
Oh,
can't see the video.
okay. Let me try to do it
In
again.
picture.
Just a minute.
Sir, your mic is closed.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, let me share it again. Try to share the screen again. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, we are not able to hear.
Sir, it is not audible. Said the video is not audible.
Okay. Maybe what I will do, I will share the link of this video in the chat box after the talk. Okay? Then you can go through that. Let me share the screen once again. Now you can see the screen.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
we can.
Sure. I will send you the link of the video. You can see it on the YouTube separate. So as I mentioned, we published this book 2 years back. It's available on the Vigyan Prasar also. And this book basically talks about the 5 different examples that I mentioned, like butterfly wing, lizard, lotus leaf, spider silk, and moth eye, which represent the different properties. Like, for example, lotus leaf, it's a self-cleaning surface. Lizard, it's a adhesive surface. Then butterfly wing is a structural color. Spider silk is the mechanical properties, as well as the moth eye is anti-reflective surfaces. So let's see very briefly, since you are school and college students, I will not go into the much technical details, but I will try to make it understand in a simpler language. So when we talk about the self-cleaning surface, like lotus leaf, as I mentioned, in the lotus leaf, what happens when you put the water droplets rolls away from the surface, taking the dust and dirt along with it. So how does it work? So if you talk about the plain surface, and if you put the water droplet, it makes a structure like this. And if you tilt it, it will not, because this water droplet and is plain surface, it is touching the whole area. So it will stick to that, it will not go away. While when we create the structure like this, which is called Wengel model or Casey model, which are basically the nano structure or multi-scale structure, then now the water droplet sits like this. Even in that case, if you see, water droplet is filling these gaps. And even if you try to tilt it for a few degrees, it will not be rolling away. This is called Wengel model. And the third case, which is like Casey model, the water is slightly just touching the surface. And these surface, if you see the groups, these are nano-sized groups. Okay. And because of this nano-sized groups, the water droplet is just touching the surface. And if you slightly tilt it, water droplet will roll away. That is what happens in the lotus leaf. So the lotus leaf, when you see the structure of lotus leaf on a high magnification, you will realize there are nano groups of wax. I will show you the picture. And that's how it behaves as a water rolling surface. So this is how, but at the same time, you can do this, you can see this behavior in the rose. If you see the rose petal is just like the Wengel model. Even in that case, water droplet is like this, but even if you rotate the rose petal completely 180 degree, it will stick the water as it is. So that is what the difference between the rose petal and the lotus leaf. Let's try to see it more clearly. So this is the lotus leaf. Now what happens in the lotus leaf when you see the high magnification image? Sorry. These are the micron sized groups. This you can see this structure of green color, which is micron size groups. On these micron size groups, you can see the small black. These are nano droplets or nano crystals, wax crystals. Epidermal cells microstructure. On that, there are the wax crystals. Now, because of these wax crystals, which are present on these microstructures, when you put the water droplet, actually the water droplet is sitting on these wax crystals. It is not going inside these air pockets. And that is how, whenever there is any dust and dirt, it rolls away and it carries the dust and dirt along with it. That is what is called self-cleaning surface. So, for example, if you want to create the self-cleaning surface, you create the similar structures just like what the lotus leaf is having in your material. That material will also show the self-cleaning behavior. Similarly, anti-reflective surfaces. There is a insect which is called moth. Now, if you see the moth eye, here in the microscopy, like 130 times magnification, it looks like this. When you further zoom it, it is actually like this. When you further zoom it at 1,000 times magnification, it looks like this. And this is at 4,000 magnification. Now, what does it mean? This is a very nice hierarchical multi-scale structure. What do I mean with that? If you see, there is a nice arrangement of micron structures in a hexagonal manner. And between these micro hexagonal structures, there are these groups which are of the nano size. Now, because of this, what happens when light comes into these eyes of the moth? It reflects into a next structure, and there is a continuous decrease in the reflection. And because of that, at the end of the reflection, there is almost no reflection. So this is called anti-reflective surfaces. There is almost zero reflection. And because of that, moth eyes, it avoids the predators in the night to save its life. And that is how the nature has provided this feature to the moth. Now, similarly, there are plants. If you see these plants and if you see their microstructure, they are looking like this. So what happens? When light is coming into these plants, you know the reflection rule. It reflects at the same angle like this. Then it again reflects like this. It again reflects like this. So basically, light is getting trapped in these structures. Light is not coming out from this structure. And that is how they behave as a anti-reflective surfaces. So there are two such examples. In the plants, it is light trapping. Because of that, they behave as an anti-reflective. At the same time, there is a moth eye, where there is a continuous gradient of the reflection. And because of that, overall reflection is almost zero. So these two mechanisms are found in the nature, in the moth as well as the plants. And that again inspire us to create such kind of structures to make the anti-reflective surfaces. So these are the various techniques. I'm not going into the detail that how we can fabricate those structures, but there are micro and nano fabrication techniques which we have developed over the years. They are very well-established techniques. By using these techniques, we can create the similar structures like this, which are found in the nature. And when we create these structures in our materials, we realize that they also exhibit the similar properties. Some of these examples, for example, as I mentioned, these are self-cleaning properties of water. This is the light trapping property. And because of that, we have done a lot of fabrication in our materials. Another example, which is very common, where you can see this kind of plant everywhere in your garden. It's called Canna indica. It comes in the different colors. Generally, this is yellow or red color. Now, the beauty of this Canna indica plant that not only its leaf, also the flower petal, and also these seeds, which is called where the seeds are there inside, they all show the hydrophobic property. Super hydrophobic property means water repellent. Water does not touch these surfaces. Water repels immediately on these surfaces, just like lotus leaf. Okay, so if you see the water droplet, if it is touching, it will roll away clearly, even from the petal, even from the seed pod, even from the leaf. So this is an example of plant for which not only the leaves and petals, but also seed pod shows the hydrophobic properties. So what we did, I mean, if you see the structure of this petal, flower petal at the microscopy, it looks like this, right? And what we did, we tried to create these structures in our materials. So there is a simple way. You can do it even in the Shiksha Sopan laboratory. You don't need any sophisticated tool. What you need is just a simple oven and this particular material, which is called polydimethoxysilane, PDMS, which is very reasonable material. You can get 1 kg of material in just 6,000 to 7,000 rupees. This PDMS material, it's a viscoelastic material, and you can pour so this is an example in which we are doing the biomimicking. We are taking the actual petal on that actual petal or flower or the leaf, we are pouring this material PDMS and curing it, and then later take it out. And when we say this material, which is now making the solid state, which is reflecting the same structure. So if you see the structure, this is the original structure, and this is the structure in the PDMS in our material. And when we test this material, so for example, this is the original seed pod. When we look the seed pod into the microscopy, this structure looks like this: A1, B1, C1, D1 at different magnification. When we try to replicate these materials in our PDMS, which is A3, B3, C3, D3, you can see the similarity between A1, A3, B1, B3, C1, C3, D1, D3. So we created the similar structure by biomimicking. We have taken the seed pod, actual seed pod, poured our material and solidified it and removed it. And we create the same structure like this. And when we, similarly, this is the petal, and you can see the similar structures A1, B1, C1, D1, which are now A3, B3, C3, D3. And when we do that, what we did later, we have checked how they are behaving. So if you see this particular video, I hope you can see the video. Now,
Yes, sir.
this is the material which I am saying, PDMS, polydimethoxysilane. So I will be again starting this video. So what happens? This is a material with, for one side, it's a plain material. There is no structure on this. And if you see, water is not rolling. You have to really remove it. Okay, it's sticking. It's not rolling. Now the second side is water, which is having the structure. And that's how it's completely rolling. So it's looking like self-cleaning surface. This is the without the structure. Here, water will stick. It's not rolling. So one side, it's a structure which has been replicated from the plant, which is showing the water rolling behavior. Another side, it is not rolling, it is sticky. Similarly, there is another material. It is a carbon material, but behavior is same. Here, it's sticking. There's no structure. And backside of it, now if you see, there is a structure, imprint is there. And here it is completely rolling. It's not sticking at all. So what I want to convey here is this water rolling or not rolling, this is controlled by the structure present on the surface. And these structures are created by taking the inspiration from the nature. What kind of a structure we can create? So this is in terms of contact angle. Many of you might be knowing water contact angle means what angle this water droplet is making. If the angle is less than 90 degree, the surface is called hydrophilic, water loving. If the contact angle is more than 90 degree, it is called hydrophobic, water hating. So in all these cases, it is 143, 145, 151 means it's a hydrophobic. It does not allow water to stick. All these surfaces are now water repelling surface like lotus leaf. This is another video of lotus leaf. This Canna indica seed pod. So now if you see this Canna indica seed pod, water is just touching its surface. It is not going inside the groups. It's a hydrophobic. And similarly, the same structure we created here in the second video. These are the structures which we have created. This is the original seed pod. Water is not sticking, water is going away. And these are the two materials which we created by using this structure, original structure. And we can see water is again rolling. So this is what is called biomimicking, bioinspiration. So I'm not really going into the details, but it's a tilt angle means if you tilt it by 10 degree, 15 degree, the water will roll away. So I'm not really going into the detail, but similarly, we have created the optical structures like zero reflection surfaces using these techniques. There are a lot of such examples. There are again underside of the leaf. So there are again very common plants These are the scientific names of these plants. And if you see these plants, their leaf, underside of the leaf, if you see the microscopic structure, they look like this. Okay. Satellite image, if you see, they are the underside leaf structure. And what you will appreciate that all these structures are having micron size features. On those micron size features, there are nano features. That is how it is called hierarchical or multi-scale, micro and nano combination. And because of this micro and nano combination, they show the superhydrophobic and anti-reflective features. So we have taken these leaves and used it as it is to make the similar structure in our material, and that is how we have created. So you can see how we have created. This is the original structure, and these are the structures made in our material, and they behave exactly the same as the original structures behave. Again, these are the contact angle. Original, let's say contact angle was 148. In the structure which we have replicated, it was 139, very close. 150, 146. So they behave in the same manner as the original leaf behave in our material. This is self-cleaning test. So this is, let's say, plain PDMS without having any structure. So if you see, you are putting the water, it is not rolling away. So it is not cleaning. The dust is there, but it's not cleaning because there is no structure. It's a hydrophilic structure, plain PDMS. But now you created the structure on it, and then see. This is how it is able to clean. Not really very well, but the third example is very clean surface. This is even better. It takes all the dirt along with it. This is exactly what the self-cleaning surfaces means, or self-cleaning surfaces. So this has been possible. This self-cleaning property has been developed by developing the particular structure in these materials. Well, optical studies we can skip, but again, these all surfaces, they also behave as anti-reflective surfaces. One more example I will take. This is the Namib desert beetle I was talking about. So if you see this beetle, and if you see this structure of its surface, this is the classical example to develop the water harvesting devices. So for example, if you see this Namib beetle, I was mentioning that it survives in the desert atmosphere over the years. But how does it do? So what he does in the morning time, when there is a little fog, it sits in this particular position. And because of this moisture present in the atmosphere, the small tiny droplets, they are condensed on its surface. Now, if you see closely this surface, there are certain kind of bumps. These bumps, they are hydrophilic. They attract the water. So the tiny moisture droplets, they are deposited on these bumps. Now, other than the bumps, the remaining surface is actually the flat area that is hydrophobic, which means it repels the water. So what happens? These bumpy areas, they attract the water, but at the same time, these flat areas, they repel the water. So now what happens? Whenever there are small water droplets on these bumpy areas, whenever they grow enough, because of the gravity, they come towards the flat areas. And flat areas are hydrophobic. They repel it. And it makes the structure like this in the morning. And all these tiny water droplets, after growing, they are traveling towards its mouth, from its surface towards its mouth. And that is how it drinks the water from the moisture. So this is all possible because of the combination of hydrophilic and hydrophobic surfaces present on its back. So this is an example of Namib desert beetle, how you can harvest the water for the survival. So by taking the inspiration from this particular kind of surface, we have created in our lab, we have made the structure like this. So if you see these fibers, nanofibers, they are actually the hydrophilic and they are hydrophobic. So what we did, we created these nanofibers and then did the patterning, just like some parts. So if you see that there are some parts which are plain, some parts which are having fiber. So the parts which are having fiber, they are hydrophobic. The parts which are having plain surface, they are hydrophilic. So if you pass the water, let's say from here, all the water-based impurities will be filtered, and this can be used as a filtering device or water harvesting device. This all created by some nano and micro fabrication tools in our lab, like lithography and electrospinning. But what is important here is this inspiration, it has come from the Namib desert beetle. So I would like to summarize here at this point and would like to listen a lot of hopefully some questions from your side to answer your queries. But what is important here is that nature has given us a lot of examples, lot of materials, lot of processes which have evolved over the years. And it's a time to take the inspiration from this nature to basically learn and develop the new exotic materials and develop the new applications like I have summarized. These can be used for the self-cleaning. Now, for example, window glasses. Can we have the self-cleaning window glasses with us? Yes. Can we have the paints? In fact, there are existing commercial paints which are based on the, you might have seen in the advertisement, nano emulsion. These are all nothing but the hierarchical structures and self-cleaning paints. Similarly, the self-cleaning textiles. Similarly, the anti-fouling materials, light sensitive detectors, solar cells. For example, solar cells. Suppose you are having solar cells which is having anti-deflective feature, means light will be trapped, which basically will increase the efficiency of the solar cell. And not only that, after anti-reflective feature, if you also introduce the hydrophobic feature into it, so that even if there is a dirt and dust, because solar cells, they are always installed in the outside environment. So suppose if you have a dust and dirt layer that that basically affects the efficiency of light collection. So you have the hydrophobic surface as well as anti-reflective surfaces. Because of the anti-reflective nature, light will be trapped to increase the efficiency. Because of the hydrophobic nature, you can clean it thoroughly with just by water spray. This is how people trying to develop the new materials, new processes, new devices by taking the inspiration from the nature. And that's where I think we can conclude. And I mean, we have seen that since the existence of this mankind, how we have invented and how we have made the discoveries by learning from the nature. And this continues forever. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have a Q&A session.
Vimalji, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for a very nice lecture by Professor C.S. Sharma, sir. One thing, sir, I am Dr. Rakesh Singh from Sir Patna, Arjavat Knowledge University, Patna, and I am Anveshika coordinator from Patna, Bihar.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. One thing, so how you measure the contact angle, sir, with some instrument, yes, some manually, any methods?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are instruments which is called goniometer, but without even goniometer, you can do it very simple way. So you take you put a water droplet on any surface and take a closer picture by camera. If you have the camera and you take the picture and then basically you make the baseline and just check the contact angle in that, what angle it is making. That's a very crude way, but that works very fine.
Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, will nature help us to make materials, or like we can have some different, like we can nature help us to do something else or only manufacture materials?
No, it's not just materials. So materials, processes, devices, everywhere. So what we need to look is that how we can take the inspiration from nature, whether that inspiration is in terms of development of material, in terms of development of the processes, in terms of development of the whole device. So, I mean, for example, let's say how the nature or even the trees, they transport the nutrients from the roots to the all parts of the tree. That's a basic, and in fact, even in our human body, how the natural veins, this is called nothing but neural network, right? So how we can transport the devices while minimizing the transport losses. Can we transport the electricity while minimizing the losses? Can we learn from the nature? So there are so many open questions, so many learnings which we can take, not just materials, but even the processes, even the devices.
So for that, so do we need out of box thinking also, or only nature can help?
Well, out of us thinking means, see, you have to be attentive as a science student. You have to be always attentive that what you are looking. Everybody looks into the nature. I mean, I'm just telling you the story of Canna indica, by the way, right? Canna indica, we come across Canna indica all the times. But one fine day, I mean, this is of course not by me, but one of my PhD student, right? He was just in the hostel and he was just looking into some rainy season. He just curiosity, or I would say more attentive way, he just looked into that plant. That water droplet is not sitting, it is rolling. And that's how he has come to me that this plant is also showing the hydrophobic behavior. So that is what is called, I would say, in scientific term, or a very common term which is used to this is called serendipity. You just type the word serendipity. There are a lot of discoveries in the science or in the world that happened because of the serendipity. Serendipity means that it all of a sudden, but to make it happen, you should be always attentive in your thought process.
Thank you, sir.
Just to add the example of serendipity, you all know the discovery of penicillin, right?
Yes, sir.
Learn about this, how the penicillin was discovered. It is nothing but a serendipity.
Sir, as we can replicate the structure of lotus leaf and the bird, I, the birds, then how we can replicate the butterfly wing structure? It's by that material too. We can use that material to
Yeah,
replicate that.
so yeah, right. So as I mentioned, there are two ways to fabricate or to replicate these kind of properties. One is bio inspiration, means you have seen the structure in the butterfly wings or any other material, and you understand that how these structures are responsible for this particular property, and then try to replicate those structures by using the micro nano fabrication techniques. That is approach one. Second approach is biomimicking, means you take the actual material present in the nature and try to mimic it by using some other techniques. So set of techniques are different. So one way you are directly using the template which is present in the nature. That is called biomimicking, like what we have shown. We have taken the leaf itself, we have taken the flower petal itself. Second way is that you have understood that, okay, these are the structure, these are the designs of these structures, these are the dimensions of these structures. Can we fabricate these structures by some other tools? There are various tools. When you study further, there are various micro and nano fabrication tools available. So we can fabricate those structures by taking the inspiration.
Okay, sir. So there's a one more query I have. As you
Yep.
shown the pictures of different surfaces, I get confused between the Benzi and Cassie surface because I can't figure the differences between them.
Right. Yeah. So the difference between Van and the Cassie is, in Cassie, there is a micro and nano combination. In the microstructure, on top of that, there are nano features. And because of that, the water droplet, for example, it does not go inside the air pockets. While at the same time in the Vangel state, when you already have only the micro droplets or only the micro cavity, now that micro cavity is not good enough to hold the water. It basically water traps inside the cavity, right? So because it traps inside the cavities, it is not easy. It is not possible to roll away. So that's the difference. And this difference is very clearly visible in the two different examples. The lotus leaf is an example of Cassie state in which there are nano-sized wax crystals, but the rose petal is having the only micro-sized cavities, which does not roll the water droplet even if you turn around 180 degree.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. I have a question. You were talking about a material that has been used in replicating these structures. Could you please tell us a little bit about the properties of that material?
Are you talking about the PDMS?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a PDMS. It's a full form is polydimethoxysiloxane. It's a little viscous liquid material, transparent material, and it comes in two parts. One is called part A, part V. Part A is viscous liquid, just like let's say honey, but transparent. And second part is called part V, which is called cross-linker. Cross-linker means to solidify, you add 1%, 2% of this material into part A. So what you do, you make a mixture of part A and part V, in which part V is 1% to 2%. You make a mixture and pour this mixture on the part which you want to replicate. So initially you have to close it from some boundary because it's a viscous liquid, it will flow. And then you put this structure into the oven, let's say 120 degrees Celsius for a few hours. What will happen? This cross-linking agent, which is part V, it will solidify and also you are heating it. So the whole structure will be frozen. And then and the property of this material, it's an inert, it's a non-reactive, it's a transparent. So it does not react with the surface. And once you take it out, you peel the surface, it comes out easily because it's a viscous. So when you peels it out, it takes the impression of those micro nano features present on the original template.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Sir, if we are a physics student and we want to apply the knowledge in materials field, how can we do so, or how can we interchange the field from physics to material science?
So yeah, good question. When we talk about the research, it's not specific to a particular domain. I'm a chemical engineer, by the way, okay, by my training. But if you ask me today, I do more materials engineering. Okay. Similarly, the physics. So physics, I mean, as a physicist also, you can do a lot of materials. There are a lot of physicists who do the materials engineering. So at the research level, when you go for higher studies, when you go for the research, then basically these are all, these are not basically the breakers for you. Okay. So you can develop your interest in whatever you want to do. And physics, chemistry, engineering, they are subjects which give you the basic learning training, basic training skills, nothing more than that. After that, whatever field you want to choose, you can choose that.
Sir, as you talk about hydrophobic structure, will it interact with structures like honey that is like taken in fluids like honey? Will it interact that?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Sir, as you talk about hydrophobic structure, with the structure will interact with the fluids like honey that has thick structure.
See, hydrophobic or hydrophilic is with respect to water. When we say hydrophilic, it means water loving. When we say hydrophobic, it is water hating. Honey is organic material. Okay, so we cannot compare the behavior of the same material with the organic material. We are talking about with respect to the water. I hope I have answered your question.
Okay, sir. I got the answer.
Do we have any other question?
I'm just trying to keep the link of that video, which I could not share. Let me just see it. If I can share that link.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Satvik.
Yeah, I have put the link in the chat box.
Sir, excuse me,
Yes,
sir.
Satvik. Yes, Satvik.
Sir, regarding neural networks, how do we replicate such networks on silicon wafers? Sir, does it have a different architecture from normal computer architectures?
No, can you clarify your question further?
Sir, you said that we take inspiration from neural network. So,
Hmm?
if we are doing it physically, as in the connection between neuron nodes, so how do we replicate it, sir, say in silicon wafer, so we can interact with it in a way?
No, it's not in silicon wafer as such directly. See, silicon wafer is just one material which is primarily used for photolithography purpose or the semiconductor industries. But there are ways to replicate the similar neural structures by different etching techniques. So these etching techniques, they are coming under the micro nano fabrication. Okay. See, if you have the neural network design, you can create the mask and you can fabricate those similar structures in any material, not just only in the silicon wafer. There
Thank you,
are a
sir.
variety of micro and nano fabrication tools available, which help us to create similar structure. What is important here is what kind of a structure we are looking for. That inspiration comes from the nature.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, my question is in starfish, we see the property like when we cut starfish into pieces, each that piece will grow in a new starfish, and similar kind of properties shown by jellyfish also. By inspiring this, we have any application in medical fields for human welfare in future?
Well, I mean, I cannot correlate the two examples which you have taken, but yes, at the same time, you have heard the term self-healing surfaces. There are surfaces which self-heal. Even our skin, if there is a cut, right? After a certain time, it automatically heals itself. So similarly, there are self-healing surfaces. And people are creating self-healing surfaces by looking into these natural examples.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, being a multicellular complex organisms, how is it possible in application in our human beings, sir?
Again,
Self-healing. Self-healing.
yes.
Actually, it is difficult, no, sir, for us human beings.
No, I mean, there is a lot of research going on these days on self-healing materials. Okay, there is a lot of research going on in the self-healing materials.
Okay, sir.
For example, I'm just telling you let's say there are some high stress surfaces which develop some kind of cracks. For example, in the aeroplane, aircraft, or even in the rockets, in the extreme conditions, they develop some kind of crack, which might be reasons for the failure of all those missions. Now, the question is, can we develop these structures like self-healing? So even if there is a minor crack, that can be automatically healed so that it does not cause the failure of the structure or the material. So that's where there are several uses of self-healing materials, not just with the body, right? But self-healing materials, they are of extreme importance for very critical applications.
Okay, sir.
Okay, all right then. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, as we conclude today's insightful webinar, wow, that was an incredible journey into the world of nature-inspired multifunctional surfaces. A huge thank you to everyone who made today's webinar a success, especially our esteemed guest speaker, Professor C.S. Sharma. Your insights were truly mind-blowing. Calling all science explorers, are you ready to dive deeper into the fascinating world of physics? The National Anveshika Experimental Skill Test, NAEST 2024, registration is open. This is your chance to unleash your inner scientist, showcase your skills, and push the boundaries of scientific exploration. Don't miss out. Registration closes on May 20th, 2024. NAST isn't just a competition, it is an epic adventure. It's your chance to ignite your curiosity, test your problem-solving skills, and collaborate with other science enthusiasts. Imagine the possibilities, refine your skills, gain valuable experience, and maybe even contribute to the next big scientific breakthrough. So, are you ready to take the challenge? Gather your friends, spread the word, and register for NAST 2024 today. A final round of applause for Professor C.H. Sharma sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and passion with us today. To all our participants, thank you for your engagement. Let's keep the scientific spirit alive and continue to inspire each other as we strive for excellence in physics and beyond. See you on the exciting path of scientific discovery. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vimal, and thank you all the participants for your wonderful listening as well as a lot of queries. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.